Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Cuyahoga County Public Works Procurement and Contracting Committee meeting of Wednesday, July 24th, 2024. Janine, would you please call roll?
And just as a reminder to all who are in attendance, this meeting is being recorded and live streamed on the county's YouTube page. Calling the roll, Mr. Byrne.
Here.
Mr. Miller.
Present.
Ms. Conwell.
Present.
Mr. Sweeney. Mr. Sweeney is absent at the moment. Ms. Turner. Ms. Turner is absent. There is a quorum.
Great. Thank you, Janine. Do we have anyone signed up for public comment?
No, Mr. Chair, no one is signed in.
All right, we'll move on to item number 4, the approval of the minutes from the July 10th, 2024 meeting.
I so move to approve.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Great. What I'd like to do, Janine, is to move for discussion 2 items, 6A and 6B. We'll take those first. 6A is the resurfacing of Clegg Road.
Good morning, Nicole English from Public Works. So this is going to come before council next week as an award of a construction contract. And we've been working closely with procurement. It's already in the system. We'd like to get it started before the recess due to the construction season. So I just I'll update you just as if it was on the committee as usual. But so this is Clegg Road. From Lorraine Road to Marion Road in the city of North Olmsted. This is a collaboration with the city and NOACA for federal funding that was identified in the tip of NOACA's tip. We received 3 bids, and the lowest bidder is Katz Construction at 4.8% under the engineer's estimate. So the award is $2,479,899.76. Because it's federal aid, ODOT sets the DBE percentage at 7%, and they are responsive to that. This is not just a pavement project. We are doing pavement repairs, curb repairs, ADA upgrades, pavement markings. We are adding a northbound left turn lane at Maple Ridge Road, which is widening the road at that to make it safer for the traveling public, and also adding a pedestrian hybrid beacon at Alexander and Little Clegg Park. So this is really kind of a comprehensive project. We've been working closely with the city of North Olmsted. They did a pre-project, putting a force main down the road, so it's been torn up a bit. So that's why we're really eager to get this started so that the residents can see that we're now fixing the road right behind it and not disturbing them more than once. Happy to answer any questions. 32% is federal, 24.2% county, and North Olmsted is putting in 43.8% of the project.
Excellent. Any questions for Nicole?
Sure.
I have a couple, Mr. Chair, to Ms. Nicole. RFB, remind me again. What's the
Request for bid.
Okay, request for bid. And why are these not done on time? Why are they?
So the project was in design, and we were really pushing to get it through. The price at the end went up, and because it's NOACA's tip, if it goes up more than 15%, you have to go back and get it amended at the tip, and they only meet every 3 months. So we were waiting for NOACA to update the tip, and as soon as they did that, we were able to go out to bid. So we've been kind of rushing to get this bid. It came in. We would like to get it approved next week so that they can start construction. Obviously, we're in the middle of summer. It would have been better to start a little bit earlier, but this will get us started and be able to do a significant chunk this year of the project.
So, I guess based on, because NOACA was behind in getting you what?
Well, they only meet every 3 months, and so when you get in, I mean, it takes many months it goes through committees, then it finally goes to the board to get approved, then the state has to approve the tip. So it's just kind of a timing issue with them as to when we had the cost estimate. You have to submit the cost estimate. It went up, then they can amend it. So I wouldn't want to call them out as late, but it's just that they don't meet that often. And so when you get there, you have to kind of wait for their process.
Do you have any knowledge prior to that this was going through the works? Is there any way that?
They want you to wait till you have the cost estimate done, so you kind of have to wait till that engineer gives you that cost estimate to show it went up a certain amount, then you submit that. So, yeah, I mean, you're asking, could we do it earlier? It's just the way the schedule fell on this one, really.
Okay, and this is an emergency type work that needs to be done?
I wouldn't call it emergency that there's a hole in the road, but because the city's had the road torn up, we do have a representative from North Olmsted here if we'd like to talk, but they've had the neighbors have been disrupted over this pre-project, and so they really would like to just work right into this project and not sit and wait and everybody see that there's, the road is kind of a mess and we're not out there yet. So that's why we're asking for it to continue as soon as we can.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Councilman Miller, did you have a question?
I did. So, since there's federal money involved, is it the usual federal approach on the diversity?
Yes, 7% DBE, and they are meeting that.
And why are we only doing a mile of it?
That is the section that the pavement condition was poor, and North Olmsted had done a project south of Lorraine prior. So this is kind of the missing section.
So it goes from Lorraine to the north.
Correct.
And after North Olmsted, it goes into Bay Village, is that correct?
Westlake first.
Westlake and then Bay Village?
Correct.
Was there any thought of working with Westlake and Bay Village and doing a larger project, or is it not necessary?
Yeah, I don't think their pavement was in that bad a shape. And this is a pretty decent-sized project for us to get done in one time. So I think that this had logical termini when we selected it, and NOACA selected it.
What's the anticipated construction start date and completion date?
The start date is as soon as we can get them a notice to proceed. So if it gets approved next week on council, they likely will start within a week or two, and then continue through as much as they can get done this year, and then continue through next spring until they can get it done.
Okay?
Thank you.
I'll let the record show that Councilman Sweeney is in attendance now. Nicole, or I should ask Janine, what's the process from here? This was just discussion. Is it on the agenda for next Tuesday?
Yes, that's correct.
So we would be requesting, if possible, first reading suspension
First
for
reading
next
suspension?
Tuesday.
So may I have a follow-up? Okay, so I'm just trying to get this clear through the chair to Ms. English. So you stated that we, as the county entity, must put in a cost analysis to NOACA before, or get a cost analysis done before submitting to NOACA. What was the holdup with the cost analysis?
The cost estimate, so you're waiting for the design to be complete, then they can give you the cost estimate, then we submit to NOACA for the update of the tip. So it was just really a matter of the design schedule. And if it wasn't over by the initial estimate by a certain percent, we wouldn't have had to do that step, but once that price came in over, then we have to go to them and update the tip.
Thank you.
Councilman Sweeney?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I apologize for my tardiness. Hello, Madam Assistant Director.
Hello.
How are you?
Great.
Are you intimidated because your director's sitting behind you with his arms crossed?
Never, I'm not looking it back at him.
I don't think so at all. Tell me about North Olmsted. The partnership, they've been talking about Clegg Road, North Olmsted, and the sewer project, and the back and forth. Is this,
Yeah, so we've been working
That
with
issue
them
and-
for a while, and back and forth. They actually led the design for the project. It's their road, right? The county just comes in to help. That really, even in a municipality, county roads are the city's responsibility. And so they've managed it really well. They're putting a big chunk of the money in. We're just going to assist them in constructing it. So I think it's kind of a win-win for both of us. But yeah, we are on the same page moving forward with them.
good, and through the chair, the one issue that was brought up,
We defer to the city as far as lane use goes on the road, that we've deferred to the city on what they want, because again, it's their road, really.
okay, that was my only question, to make sure that
Yep.
we always are in partnership on this one.
Yep.
I want to make sure more specifically. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Do we have any further questions?
I have one more
Sure.
question. Has the county council person, Councilman Kelly, been briefed on the project, and does he support it?
I believe so. I won't speak for him, so we can make sure we do a follow-up between now and Tuesday to be sure he's in the loop. Will do.
Any other questions? Janine, this is the first time since I've chaired this committee that this is what it is. Do I need to get a consensus of, no? I should have asked one of my veterans. It's just discussion. Okay, just discussion. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Nicole. With that, we will move on to the second item under discussion, 6B, the Veteran Services Commission relocation. Matt is going to present.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, committee members. I have a slideshow to accompany this presentation. Oh, thank you. It is up. So this project is the Veterans Service Commission relocation project, headquarters relocation. From a process perspective, this is the same as Nicole just presented. We appreciate the committee's consideration for this discussion item in anticipation of a first reading introduction and request for adoption on the July 30th meeting. This project, I'm briefing you on the project and on the contract results and recommendation. This project overall is to relocate the Veteran Services Commission from their current leased facilities at 1835 Prospect and over to the county-owned building that that was purchased in 2022 at 3950 Chester, which is on the East 40th corridor, right next to the Jane Edna Hunter Building and just down the street from the Halley Warehouse Archives. We closed on this property on June of 2022, and we entered the design phase in January of 23, and then completed our construction documents and submitted for permit and for bidding in March of this year. We are in that bid permitting and award phase. Our permits just cleared the city of Cleveland earlier this month, so the plan review is complete and we're ready to pull permits when we have an awarded construction contract. Our design team on this was lead architect by Van Eyck and Hawkins, which is now go by DVA Architects. Advanced Engineering Consultants was our mechanical, electrical, and plumbing engineer. And then we also had other consultants on the project, Thorson Baker for site civil, WJE for structural, and Knight and Solar for landscaping. The scope of the project is going to be a full interior renovation of this building. It is approximately a 31,000 square foot building, 2 stories in part, not a full 2 stories, but 10,000 square feet is the upper floor. We're going to do a parking lot reconstruction. We're going to do a roof replacement. This is all based on our design assessment ahead of purchase. We're also replacing the fire alarm, electrical service, and HVAC service throughout the building. We've designed to the county universal design standards for accessibility, and we're also modernizing the building technology, both for data and computers as well as security technology as well in this project. On the first floor, this will be the primary client services area for the Veteran Service Commission. I've focused on 3 different functions. The first is garage and storage operations in the existing building garage. We'll have material storage and also storage for Veteran Service Commission equipment, also building support functions in that area as well. In the lower left, the more yellow shaded area, that's where the main intake and client reception will be, as well as a sized training room for job fairs and other functions of the VSC. And then in the blue area, those will be staff-controlled areas that'll be for staff support as well as for the individual counseling that the VSC services officers do with clients once they are getting services.
Sure.
I'm so sorry. Let me see if I can do that. That yellow. Sorry, Councilwoman. Does that help? Yeah.
Over to the right there, yeah.
Correct. Yeah. The pink area is the garage and storage operations. Okay. Just for orientation on this particular plan, on the bottom of the screen or page, that's the parking lot, and so the main entry will be directly off that parking lot and to the into the client intake area. This is that view. If you were standing in the parking lot looking north, you would see the current picture is the existing condition, just a single person door. We'll be modifying that door to have it a storefront to make it a better client entrance. We also, from a budget perspective on this project, we went through an extensive value engineering effort to make sure we could keep to project budget, but we also set up multiple bid alternates to see how the bidding process would go, to give us flexibility in the contract award. This is the first bid alternate. This is an accessible ramp on the north side on Chester. There's currently no ramp there now, and although it won't be used for a primary entrance for clients, it is important that we have an egress location on this side of the building for accessible egress. And so that's what this bid alternate will perform, and we are recommending acceptance of this one. Also, bid alternate 2 that we're recommending acceptance of provides an operable partition for the training space on the first floor, again, to give the VSC flexibility in how they serve their clients in that space. Bid alternate number 3 is the the renovation of the second floor. The second floor functions are primarily board and executive leadership functions on the right of the screen, which is the blue shaded area, and to the left shaded area are the staff areas and staff support areas. So this bid alternate came in significantly under our estimated cost, and so we're recommending acceptance of the renovation of the second floor as well. This will provide us with common systems from both the first and second floor across the whole building, instead of maintaining older systems on the second floor and having new systems down on the first floor. So this will be a significant advantage to building operations. From a procurement standpoint, this was a formal request for bids. It was issued between April 18th and May 21st. We had 9 bidders, which was a significant bid response. We were really pleased with that. All bids were below the architect engineer's estimate. As I mentioned, the bids included a base bid and 6 bid alternates, of which we're recommending acceptance of the base bid and 4 of the 6 alternates. Infinity Construction is the lowest and best bid. They were deemed compliant via for diversity program via an administrative reconsideration panel, which met in late June, and we reacted swiftly to that to try and get this contract in front of council after that. Those are my prepared presentation remarks. This contract is for $8,316,000, which includes the base bid and the 4 recommended alternates. It has a number of different funding sources that you'll see on the legislation when introduced, most of which, a little over 88%, are previously council-approved funds, transfers, and appropriations from the Veterans Services Commission and the Veterans Services Fund. That represents 88% of the cost of the budget allocation, another 10% from the general fund capital subsidy, and 2% from the parking services fund. That's how we intend to fund this project. Happy to answer any of your questions.
Open for questions?
Through the chair to Mr. Reimer, how long has this building sat empty?
We closed on the property in June of 2022, and then we've been in design since then, but we have not kept it empty. We have had Public Works operations in and out of there just to keep a caretaker team in there, specifically our landscaping operations have been operating out of there to keep an eye on the building and to keep it functional while we wait for this project.
And the county purchased the building?
Yes, funded through Veteran Services funds, but the county real estate team and law department did the purchasing execution, yes.
And the current location is on Prospect. Do we have that clause will be out before June 30th of 2025?
Thus, the reason for why we're presenting this item in this manner is to make sure that we can meet that lease expiration of June 30th, 2025. Yes, Councilwoman.
Okay, and just about, I'm a little confused about the bid. I don't think I've ever heard that come before us before. So you talk about bid alternates. So it's 6 bid alternates?
Yes, we do frequently have bid alternates as part of our bidding structures, but not typically that many. And again, it was to provide us with flexibility on being able to execute the project, but within the budget that we had identified. In this particular case, we had we had bids significantly under the engineer's estimate, which produced a great climate for us to be able to accept more than just the base bid amounts. So that gave us the flexibility to accept bid alternates. You can only accept at the time of award. We cannot go and accept those later on in the construction project.
Yeah, I'll probably have to get more discussion on the bid alternate. So
Okay.
the Infinity Construction, they have the base and all the alternates.
That's correct. All bidders provided a bid for all 7 items, the base bid plus the bid alternates. Our bid form was set up so that they provided a bid line item for each of those scopes of work.
Okay, and so the overall, for all of them fell under, including the bids, fell under the engineer's estimate.
That is correct.
Thank you.
Councilman Miller.
Mr. Chairman, to Mr. Reimer, since you've already done a whole lot of design work, I'm presuming that this was done on an earlier, more standard procurement model rather than something like a design-build contract. Is that correct?
Through the chair to the councilman, yes, this was a design bid build effort. That was the delivery method chosen. So we had a design team that was managed by us, the owner, and then we bid the project and we will own the contract with the construction contractor.
And where did recovery resources go?
I'm not sure I can answer that question, Councilman. I apologize. I don't know. I know that the building was vacant when we purchased the building. I see the director coming.
We believe they're over at Metro Hospital now.
Uh-huh, okay. And can you go through the 4 bid alternates that were accepted and give me the price of each?
Yes, I can. Alternate number 1 was the alternate to build and modify the front entrance on Chester, which is the north side entrance, to provide an accessible ramp coming down from that entrance. And that bid alternate bid was $146,000 compared to an estimate of $177,041. Bid alternate 2 was the inclusion of operable partitions in the first floor training space, and it had a bid by Infinity Construction for $130,000 against an estimate of $205,636. Alternate number 3 was for the second floor renovation. It had a bid alternate bid of $676,000 compared to an estimate of $873,701. Alternate number 4 was not accepted. This was for a modification to the East 40th. That had a bid over the alternate estimate, but we're not accepting that. The alternate number 5 was for the elevator system. It was to provide a gearless drive instead of a geared drive for the elevator. That was a $10,000 bid, and we had estimated a deduct of $12,900. And those were the 4 that were accepted. The last, which is not recommended, alternate 6, was a snow melt system for the north entry, which we chose not to accept.
So, Madam Chair, to Mr. Reimer, what did you mean by an estimate of a $12,000 deduct? What did that mean?
Yeah, our engineer estimated that going from a geared to a gearless drive on the elevator system would result in a deduct in cost. And we saw that in some of the bids, but other bids, we saw a small add. And I think this varied just depending on what elevator subcontractor was chosen by the respective prime bidder.
So even though this one came in above the estimate, we decided to do it.
Yes, a gearless machine will create a lot less energy use on the elevator system. It also is a significant reduction in maintenance and sustainment for the elevator going forward.
So, Madam, Mr. Chair, to Mr. Eimer, the original diversity goals were not met because it went to a reconsideration panel. Can you tell me what the proposed goals were and in what ways they were short and how this was resolved?
Yes, I can, Councilman. Let's see if I brought the exact goals down. I did. So the goals on the project were 5% SBE, 16% MBE, and 9% WBE. This vendor on the original evaluation was found, I just want to make sure I quote it correctly from the bid tabulation, was found compliant and exceeded the WBE goal, met the SBE goal, but they were short on the MBE goal, primarily because of some administrative deficiencies on their submission for the MBE vendors that they had proposed. And then the vendor took the opportunity to request an administrative reconsideration panel where they were found then compliant with the good faith effort.
So, what is the MBE percentage that they ended up with?
So the administrative reconsideration panel does not come back with a new accepted percentage. They just indicate compliance and ability to move forward. But if you were to accept the deficient paperwork that they had, they would have exceeded the goal, or just met the goal of the 16%, I believe.
Okay, so they had sufficient percentage, they just didn't have all the paperwork in order, is that correct?
That's my interpretation of the paperwork that was submitted in the bid tab, yes.
Okay, thank you. So, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Eimer, is any new money being put into this that had not been previously appropriated?
Through the chair to the councilman, the answer is yes, for a number of reasons. The first is all of the cash that had been previously approved by council, cash remaining a little over 7.38 million of the Veteran Services Fund and Veteran Services Commission appropriations are all sitting in cash, but only a portion of that has been actually appropriated into the project. So you can anticipate seeing the full appropriation of those previously approved dollars to the project accounting level in the near future, as well as the general fund and parking services portion will be appropriated into the future. The general fund capital subsidy appropriation will be from general fund capital subsidy prior cash. As those projects get closed out, we've identified a number of opportunities to provide that, and so those appropriations will still come forward to your committee.
And you said regarding the bid alternates that they can only be accepted at the time of the bid and not later. But I know that in the hotel construction project that they had alternate items that they did not fund at the start of construction, but when the project started running under budget, they used contingency money and added some things into the mix. Why is that option not available here?
To the councilman, to further explain, Because of the delivery method of the project, this is a request for bids versus a design build or other method. We have to treat all the bidders fairly. And so we have to have a defined methodology at the contract award stage that says this is what we've based the bid evaluation on. And in this case, the bid evaluation and comparing the lowest bids to one another includes the base bid and the 4 options. That's what we've accepted. You're correct in that if we didn't pick up an option, a bid alternate, we could negotiate that later in the project, but we couldn't hold the contract to that, nor we could use it as a basis for evaluation of the bidders. So that's a further explanation there.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Conwell?
Yes, through the chair to Mr. Reimer. So on that point, because we can't use the contingency funds, still on Councilman Miller's point, for the things, there is some savings of the project. Couldn't we go back out to bid to get those other 2 bid options done later? After the project is done?
On one of the items, we could consider that for our trades to consider. It's a small enough item that we could consider our trades to build it if we feel that it's necessary for the project, and that's a modification to the exit, secondary exit door on the east 40th side. It's not a primary ingress or egress to the building, so that's why we felt it wasn't important on a cost perspective. The other, we had some technical concerns with, and that was the snow melt system for the non-primary entrance. And one, we didn't feel the cost was justified to implement that system for a non-primary entrance, but also it would have driven additional mechanical equipment that our design didn't account for. So I don't anticipate considering that item into the future
Okay,
for those technical reasons.
So the snow melt system, I'm assuming that is something underneath the sidewalk melts the snow. We don't have that system in any other buildings?
We do. We have it in other numerous buildings, but not all. And it would not be part of the parking lot. That system wouldn't be included in the parking lot, an asphalt parking lot. But in a concrete ramp, it could be. But again, that's not going to be a primary entrance. That's where we consider the cost not worthy of consideration to the project budget.
So there will be a snow melt system, just not in that part? Or
No,
just
no, there
none
will
at all?
not be. There will not be.
And are the final designs acceptable to the Veterans Administration?
I'll speak, and then if Executive Director Rice wants to contradict me, yes. When we set up the bid alternates, it involved extensive coordination with the Veterans Service Commission and their board, as well as the post-bid results on what we recommended, and then what they requested. We had an engagement before this contract and discussion item appeared before committee. So yes.
Okay, let's
I'll
hear from
pause
Mr. Yeah, let's hear from Mr. Rice.
Okay.
Thanks, Matt. Mr. Rice?
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
State your name for the record.
John Rice, Executive Director, Cuyahoga County Veteran Service Commission. So to answer the question, absolutely. With the selections of the alternatives as presented by Mr. Reimer, this meets all the expectations that the Veteran Service Commission was looking for in the design to meet both current and future programs and education for our veterans that we're looking forward to doing. So,
In terms of the front of the building, I think there were some issues in regards to design in terms of the flag poles or whatever the case may be.
there was, and so if you look at that page, which I believe is page 5, page 5, you'll see the frontage of the building. And what you'll see is those pillars will now be representative of services with plaques versus flagpoles, which has a variety of advantages. We won't have to worry about replacing flags regularly, and we also won't have to worry about clearance with electrical lines and other avenues. So this design came out to be much more long-term beneficial for both the Veteran Service Commission and for the design team.
Okay, but it will reflect that it's a veteran building.
It will. There'll be one flagpole near the end of that will have the American flag up, that at the end of the ramp near the bottom, and then the rest of those pillars will be branches of service.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank
Any
you.
other questions for Mr. Rice? Councilman Sweeney?
Thank you. Mr. Chairman. It's nice seeing you again. You're passionate about this like nobody else. With the whole drama of bricks and mortar and services, what's the update on that?
Say that one more time.
Bricks and mortar for the veteran services and the services that are provided. Some people wanted to go for programs. Some people wanted to go for bricks and mortar. Has that calmed down a little bit?
That has. So what we're looking at with this design is at this point, no additional Veteran Service Commission dollars will go in other than some furnishings and things like that along the way. IT equipment, things like that we'll need in the building, which is a standard veteran service cost that we regularly put in budgets. So we can now focus our money more on our programming, which we've already started to do with the new programming. We already started some programming as suggested by members of council, so.
And thank you, through the chair. It's such an important and needed, and having the distraction disappear, it's exactly how it should be, because we don't want to take anything away from your efforts here. If we can help, let us know. Thank you.
Absolutely, thank you.
Any other, excuse me, any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Rice. Matt, I'm sure just as the first presentation, first reading under suspension for July 30th?
Again, we would appreciate that consideration, Councilman. As mentioned, this is needed to start the construction in order to meet the lease expiration date of the Prospect Avenue current location.
Thank you. Good presentation.
Thank you.
Janine, with that, we'll move on to items 5, matters referred to committee. 5A.
Resolution number 2024-0277, fixing the 2025 water, storm, and sanitary sewer maintenance and/or sewage treatment rates for various county sewer districts.
Good morning, Melanie Say, Department of Public Works. This legislation before you is our annual request to set and fix the sewer maintenance rates for our member communities. We had 4 communities who have updated their rates for this year. The rest remain the same.
Open for any questions, comments?
Just to the chair, what was your last name, Melody?
Say,
How do you spell that?
Esses and Sam, EAY.
So these are routine.
Yes, every year we have this.
Okay, thank
Just
you.
out of curiosity, who are the 4 that upped the rates?
We have Parma, who did a storm increase. Maple Heights did a sanitary increase and a storm decrease. Oakwood Village did a sanitary increase and a storm decrease. And Warrensville Heights did just a reallocation.
Great, thank you. So what are we looking for here? Moving this,
Actually, we would like to request second reading suspension because we need it actually approved by September 9th to the state.
do I have a motion to accept second reading suspension?
I move we recommend 0277 for second reading suspension.
And all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That worked well, thank you. So Janine, we'll move on to 5B.
Resolution number 2024-0278, approving and confirming the 2025 water, storm, and sanitary sewer maintenance and/or sewage treatment assessments for various county sewer districts.
Good morning, Melanie Say, Department of Public Works. This is actually combined with the first piece of legislation. One is actually fixing, one is confirming the rates. So this is just a request confirming the rates.
Questions or comments regarding 5B?
So,
Yes.
go ahead, Melody.
Why do we need 2 pieces of legislation?
One actually states that what the rates actually are, and then one confirms them to the state. So we need both legislations passed per the ORC.
Okay.
That was my same question.
Any other questions or comments? If not, Melody, I'm sure is the first, second.
Yes, we are requesting second reading suspension as per the first
I'll
legislation.
make a motion to move this to the full council under second reading suspension.
And I'll
Second.
second it. Councilman Miller will. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thanks, Melody. Okay, Janine, with that, we'll move on to 5C.
Resolution number 2024-0279, authorizing the appropriation of real property for the replacement of Rockside Road Bridge number 03.23 and 03.32 over the Cuyahoga River in the City of Independence and Village of Valley View.
Nicole English with Public Works. So as part of a project, typically bridges, we'll have some right-of-way that we need to acquire. And so we've come before the council to give us authority to appropriate the right-of-way. That already happened. Through the process, if we cannot come to an agreement or have a title issue, there is sometimes a chance that we have to appropriate. We have the right through eminent domain to appropriate, and once we file that, we can then proceed with the road and bridge project. So Rockside Road Bridges is a project that's including 2 bridges in Valley View and Independence. As part of these projects, there was 18 parcels that we needed to purchase. 4 of these parcels are have different issues that we need to appropriate. So, I'm good. So there's a couple of them that is really just that the property owners started communicating and no longer have been reaching out. Once we give them the fair market value, the appraisal, they've kind of stopped talking. So in order to process, we have to go to this next step. There's another one, parcel 6, where the property owners are deceased. And so in order to clear up who's really the rightful owner of the property, you often have to file in court and then it'll work itself out. Another one, the property owner's not been responsive at all, parcel 10, and parcel 11, again, not responsive at all. One of them is a commercial property that we also had a similar case when we did Old Rockside Road Bridge a couple years ago. So this is a standard practice. We will continue to try to work with them as we can, before we get to court, but in order to keep the project schedule going, we need to do this filing. So we need the approval from council in order to do it, then the prosecutor will file on our behalf. So happy to answer any questions.
Open for questions?
Just for her to clarify again, the parcel 1, what was the problem again?
Parcel 1 is that they were communicating initially with our agent, but then have recently not responded to any reach out that we've done. So the values range, that one is $2,850, so only $2,000. $15,300 is parcel 6, $16,900 is parcel 10, and $4,500. So these are pretty low dollar amounts. We're not taking huge swaths of property. We aren't taking structures. It's really just slices close to the bridge where we need to construct.
Okay, and so would that be the dollar amount that they would receive?
That is what we've offered them based on the appraisal. Now, again, once it goes to court, if there is back and forth filings, it could change the dollar amount based on what's a judgment. But typically, we see them coming in pretty close to the appraisal.
You're in the ballpark then.
Yeah, and we follow we have to follow federal guidelines. So there's an appraisal, there's a review appraisal. So it's very standard as to how we come up with these rates. They're not just, picked out of a hat.
And do you have a court date?
We will not until we file.
Until you file? Okay.
Correct. And so the schedule of the project is fairly tight. We have federal money on this project through NOACA. And so we will request second reading suspension so that we're able to do that before the recess.
Councilman Sweeney.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just curious, it's a tight window, and if the court case drags out, does that impede the progress?
No, because it's a road and bridge project, we have eminent domain rights that as soon as we file, we're able to proceed with the project.
And my last question is, at the end, they never showed up. They give you an award. Does it go to unclaimed funds for the state of Ohio?
Let me ask Jessica to phone a friend to this one.
Yep, it stays with the court for 3 years, and they try to reach out to the property owners. If it isn't claimed, it does go back into it goes back into the general fund at some point, whenever it does go back. Most of the time, we have found the rightful property owner and provided them the compensation.
Got it. So it goes back to the general fund, not to the unclaimed fund.
No, it ends up coming back to us.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you very much.
It does not, no.
Any other questions for Nicole or Jessica? With that, I need a motion to accept for second reading suspension.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Great, thank you.
Thank you.
So Janine, we're moving on to 5D.
Resolution number 2024-0280, making an award on requisition number 14136 to Trimore Corporation in the amount not to exceed $523,515 for the Cuyahoga County Airport Pavement Rehabilitation Apron Slab Replacement Phase 2 project.
Nicole English with Public Works again. This is a bid that we did for apron slab replacements out at the airport. So we were picking off parts of our capital plan as we get funding from other sources and able to repair kind of pieces that we need to get done. As you may remember, we did a major runway improvement several years ago, and so now this is kind of the filler pieces as we go. So there's several aprons are getting replaced in front of hangars, specifically I think Eaton's hangar and a few other locations. So this was put out to bid. We received 4 bids. Trimore is the low bidder. They're 16% under the estimate, and so we're recommending award of this $523,000. $500,000 of it is coming from ODOT, so they are paying 95.5%, and the $23,000 that's left is coming out of the county airport fund.
Any questions regarding item number 5D? If not,
Move this to the full council under second reading suspension.
Thank you. Yeah, just anything construction, it would be nice to get done before break. Thank you.
motion's been made. We have I'll second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Great. Thank you, Nicole.
Thank you.
Janine, 5E.
Resolution number 2024-0281, making an award on requisition number 14052 to the Murphy Contracting Company in the amount not to exceed $4,446,600 for elevator modernization in various Cuyahoga County-owned buildings.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, committee members. Matt Reimer with the Department of Public Works. This is a contract recommendation resulting from a request for bids for a project to modernize 12 county elevator systems in the Virgil E. Brown Health and Human Services Building and in the Huntington Park Garage, specifically 4 elevators in the Huntington Park Garage and 8 elevator and lift systems in the Virgil E. Brown Building. We put this bid out earlier this year. It closed to bidders on March 20th of this year. We had 5 bidders. Again, we had a successful bid climate with this one as well, with all bids coming in beneath the engineer's estimate. The engineer's estimate for the 2 buildings combined was $5,328,740, compared to our recommended lowest and best bid with Murphy Contracting Group of $4,446,600, or almost 20% under the engineer's estimate. The other bidders were similarly beneath that. The next lowest bidder was another 3% higher, so it was a pretty tight bid structure. We did have one of the 5 bids that was not compliant. They did not bid on all the bid items, so we could not consider them further. However, this project will, at the Huntington Park Garage, modernize and do maintenance and repairs to the 2 elevators on the east end of the garage, and which service the Hilton Hotel tunnel and the floors on that side, and the 2 west side elevators, which are at the corner of the Peace Officers Memorial, that side of the garage. There is another elevator system. It is a new elevator in 2017 that services the courthouse. That elevator is not being any work performed as part of this project. So on those 2 elevator banks, each have 2 elevators. One of them on each side is currently non-functional. They were decommissioned in 2016, and we're going to recommission them just based on the usage patterns of the garage. We feel that we need all 4 elevators operating on those ends to meet the special event demands of the convention center and other special events that happen in the facilities around the garage. At the Virgil E. Brown Building, we're modernizing all 6 interior passenger elevators, the large freight elevator, and we're also replacing the material lift system that moves material from the lower garage to the upper level loading dock. We have a two level loading dock system at Virgil E. Brown. What does a modernization include? It includes replacement of the weight handling drives and machines, the hoist equipment. It also includes code revisions and upgrades to the mechanical and electrical systems, as well as modifications and improvements to the cab interiors, the call stations, and the call buttons to keep in compliance with accessibility codes. Happy to answer any of your questions.
Thanks, Matt. Any questions for Matt? Councilman Miller.
What is the funding source?
The funding source is 26.5% parking services fund, and the remaining of that is general fund. So those dollars break up to general fund capital subsidy, $3,268,300. Parking services fund, $1,178,300.
Is this project on this year's capital plan?
It is.
And, Mr. Chairman, to Mr. Reimer, I know there's a lot of changes in the works around the HHS facilities. Am I correct that the Virgil Brown facility is one that we intend to continue to operate at for as far out as we can see?
To the councilman, yes, it is. It is part of the current planning for consolidation of various HHS elements. And so this elevator modernization will be an important precursor to that consolidation to make the building fully useful to a consolidated department.
And Mr. Chairman, to Mr. Reimer, how old is the Virgil Brown building and what overall condition is it in?
1990 construction. We've done a number of midlife renovation projects in the last 10 years. The building has a new roof system. The building has a newer mechanical system in 2017 when we converted off of chillers and boilers and brought in district steam from Cleveland Thermal and district chilled water from Cleveland Thermal. So we have good bones. We know that we have to get into modernizing the fire alarm system into the future and look to do that as part of a consolidation project. We've also addressed a lot of the interior duct and damper systems through the building that intake fresh air for the ventilation system.
And Mr. Chairman, Mr. Reimer, am I correct, we own the building rather than leasing?
That's correct, Councilman. We own the building.
Thank you, Councilman. Any other questions?
Just add my name.
Add Councilwoman Conwell's name to that, please. With that, you're asking for?
That would, a second reading suspension would be appreciated, Mr. Chair. We have about 1.5 years of performance on this, and the soonest we can get those long lead equipment items for the elevator systems ordered, the better. Thank you.
I'll make a motion to move it to the second reading suspension.
Great.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Is anyone opposed? No? Thank you, Mr. Reimer. Janine, we'll move on to item F.
Resolution number 2024-0282, making an award on requisition number 14468 to WB Mason in the total amount not to exceed $864,000 for furnishing and delivery of reprographic paper to various county departments and agencies.
Good morning, everyone. Tom Pavich, Department of Public Works. We do need to amend the dates of this resolution. The current dates are listed are October 1st of 24 to September 30th of 28. We need to modify those to September 1st of 2024 and take it to August 31st of 2027. So it'd be a 3-year contract.
Any questions from Mr. Pavlich?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I'll make a motion to amend the resolution as requested.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Thank you. The actual award it's an award recommendation to WB Mason. It's for the county's copy paper. So the last time I was up here is for the county's copiers and printers. This is the copy paper that goes into those machines. Excuse me. We did a formal RFP, request for proposals. We had 3 proposals submitted. WB Mason was the highest scoring vendor. They are also the lowest price vendor of the 3 vendors. And this will result in a 3-year contract. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions?
Yes, I have one.
Yes.
How is the cost per sheet going to compare with what we're currently paying?
It's actually going down. Typically in this industry, the prices go up and down. They've significantly went down. So the current price we're paying per carton is roughly just over $40. The new cost will be $34 per carton. That's for the primary 8.5 by 11 copy paper.
And how many sheets are in a carton?
really starting to quiz me here. So I believe it's 500 in a pack, 10, so 5,000.
5,000, okay.
Any other questions? And you're asking for,
Second reading suspension, yes, because the current contract does go until August 31st, so we're looking to, that's why we had the dates bumped up.
thank you.
After grilling you with all the questions, I'll make a motion for second reading suspension.
I had to think about that one, thank you.
I'll second that. Thank you, Councilman Miller. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
All that information. Janine, where are we moving on to 5G?
Resolution number 2024-0283, making an award on requisition number 13225 to Michael Baker International in the amount not to exceed $2,099,800 for planning and engineering services for the improvement of the Veterans Memorial Detroit Superior Bridge.
Nicole English with Public Works again. We're really playing tag here today. This is a RFQ that we put out, so it's professional services. So we base this on qualifications, and we put out the services for planning and design for the Veterans Memorial Bridge project. We actually had put this out while we had a grant request in to the federal government in order to do this work. Since the selection, we've been awarded $7 million from FHWA with no local match, so this will all be covered out of that grant that we received. We had 3 firms that submitted. Michael Baker ranked the highest on the categories of firms experience, available staff experience, including the project manager and their support staff, and their project methodology. So they ranked 78 out of 100 compared to the next one was 74, and the third vendor was 63. So we feel that they are the highest quality firm. They are combining with an architecture firm that will help develop the alternatives. This is really focusing on the county executive's idea of kind of what can we do on that lower level of the Detroit Superior Veterans Memorial Bridge, and connections to everything that's going on in that area between Canal Basin, Irish Town Bend, what's happening in Ohio City, just the growth that has gone on in those areas. And so we are asking for approval of this contract. The initial contract with Michael Baker is just over $2 million. So this is kind of what we could scope on the phase 1 until we know what we're doing. We can't proceed with design, so we're not scoping the full design at this time. But the anticipation would be that this consultant, as long as everything goes well, would continue on with the design with an amendment at a later date using the rest of that $7 million. So right now using just under $2.1 million for this first phase of the contract. Happy to answer any questions.
Open for questions. Councilman Sweeney.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Madam Assistant Director, just many years ago with Lillian Curry, we decided to do expand it, make the bike lane, make it much more pedestrian friendly.
Yep.
And I was happy to throw a little bit of money at it through the discretion I had at council. Is that same theme going to be moved on, or are you going to come up with different concepts?
Yeah, that was on the top of the bridge, right? So we actually cut the ribbon in 2004. I worked for a consultant that did the work, so I remember it well. And we did the best we could on the top at the time. So that was her, Lillian was really passionate about that phase to try to narrow those lanes. The trucks were coming across, barreling. We cleaned up the intersection at 25th. There used to be that slip ramp where they would just fly right onto the shoreway. So that was kind of, I would say, a first round project, right? That was before they thought through what could we really do on the underside. So this study is going to kind of look at what's happening above now, what would we want to do to change on the top to help all modes, and then what can we do underneath. So if anyone's been out for one of the tours that we have open, when we open that underside of the bridge, there's a lot of interest. It's covered, the cars aren't wheezing by you. Like, what can we do down there to enhance sort of pedestrian bicycle connections? So this will look holistically at the whole bridge, the top and the bottom. So I'd say that laid the groundwork for this study. But again, it was 20 years ago now this year that we opened those pieces of the Lillian's plan.
Yeah, and through the chair, I just don't want to dismiss that. We're going to enhance that as
Correct.
well as the bottom and have a complete bridge.
Correct. That's the idea.
Can't wait to that ribbon cutting.
Any other questions, Councilman Miller?
Yes. What's the estimated total construction cost, design and construction cost?
So we think the 7 million will get us through the design. Now, there's a caveat because we don't know exactly what we're designing. So depending on what what comes out of this study will determine the construction cost. So one of the first pieces through this planning study is to come up with a preliminary cost estimate. So we'll have some target in order to start seeking additional funding for it. So I tell you on construction cost, I don't want to even give you a number. I do think 7 million will get us what we need, and bearing anything crazy, like we want to put a Ferris wheel on the bridge or something, not that I'm proposing that, but, you know, if something else comes out that's really expensive, it could increase. But we hope that the 7 million that we received will get us through design, and then we'll have a better idea of cost estimate in about 6 months, once we get through the initial steps of the study.
What's the estimated start and completion date for the actual construction?
Also, not totally known, because we'll have to get all the money in order. This study, we think we can get through part 1 of this study in a year, and then the design would probably take another year or 2, depending on how complicated and what we're doing. Then construction would happen after that. So we're still a little ways out. You know, there's some work to be done, but I think this momentum in receiving this grant award really shows that even the feds thought that, you know, this was an intriguing project and really connecting the neighborhoods. And so we're hoping the momentum can continue to bring more funding to the project.
By the time this gets done, none of us here might still be on the county
I hope
council.
so.
I know one of us won't be.
Oh,
Any other questions for Nicole?
Yes.
I would ask for second reading suspension if possible.
When you described the factors that were considered, cost was not among them. And this seems unusual, even on requests for qualification to usually have 4 or 5 items in which the cost is one of them. Why is cost not even one of the consideration factors on this?
So per ORC, there's certain professional categories that you do not ask for price as part of their proposal. You can only ask for qualifications, and engineering services is one of those that falls into that. So typically, we put out an RFQ, we score based on this, then we negotiate price. If we cannot reach a price that we feel is fair with the number 1 firm, we would go to the number 2 to negotiate with.
Understood. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
I'll make a motion
Thank
to
you.
recommend 0283 for second reading suspension.
And I will second that motion regarding R 2024-0283.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? We've kept you busy today, Nicole. With that, we're moving on to 5H. Janine?
Resolution number 2024-0284, authorizing an award to the safety company doing business as MTech Company in the amount not to exceed $3,164,837.05 for a joint cooperative purchase of 5 replacement Gap Vax trucks for the sanitary division.
Good morning, Tom Pavich, Public Works again. So this is the request for a purchase order with the safety company commonly known as MTech. It's for 5 replacement jet trucks to be used by our sanitary division. They'll replace 5 older models, 2 2014s, 2 2015s, and 2016, which those will be auctioned off through the county's Gov Deals program. These will be used by our sanitary division in their operations day to day, working 2 shifts. The procurement method was off of the county-approved joint cooperative or Sourcewell. This particular one through Sourcewell is actually done as an RFP through Sourcewell, so the vendor was awarded by a competitive nature bid, and we're looking to take advantage of that cooperative purchasing platform.
Excellent, thank you. Any questions, comments? Not hearing any?
Requesting second reading suspension. The reason being, we like to get these placed as soon as possible because we're anticipating if we get them the order placed soon, we can take delivery of these this year potentially.
I'll make the motion to accept 0284.
I will second that motion.
All those in
And-
favor?
When did you say you would take delivery?
Potentially this year.
This year,
Potentially this year.
okay.
All those in
Aye.
favor? Anyone opposed? No, great, thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
We've covered 6A, the resurfacing of Clegg, and 6B, the Veteran Services Commission. We'll move on to item number 7, which is miscellaneous business. Any miscellaneous business? No. No, Mr. Miller? With that, Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Excellent. Meeting adjourned.